Hey everybody, Steven here, and today we are looking at a mesh chair from Logicfox. I reviewed one of their other chairs in the past. This one is different from that, but they were both mesh style. They don't really have specific names for the chairs, but they do have a model number, and this one is going to be the LFR MW003. I'll have a time lapse of me building this while I talk some of the specs. In terms of build time, this took a little bit longer, took about 28 minutes, just because I glanced at the instructions and I've built like 20 of these chairs at this point. So I was like, oh, I got it. And so I just started doing it the way I've done other chairs, but there was a difference in the order. You would put the arms on first instead of the base. Because of that, it set me back a little bit because then I had to disassemble it and then do it the correct way. So be mindful of that when you build this. Looking at the max weight that this can hold, it is 300 pounds. This weighs 36 pounds. The material again is mesh, but on the front of the seat, towards the very edge, you actually have a sponge here for better support for your thighs. So this has the aluminum alloy base that can hold a ton of weight. We have the premium gas lift. We have the 360-degree swiveling casters for the wheels. And then we're going to have the multi-function base here, or the chassis. And with that, let's go ahead and transition over now to the mechanical adjustments that this can do. In terms of a height adjustment, this can go up and down 2.75 inches. For reclining, this has 3 lockable positions, but it goes from vertical and it can lean back 130 degrees. So you have the 90, and then all the way at the end, you have the 130 degrees. Again, 3 lockable positions within that. So you have 90 degrees, 110 degrees, and then the 130 degrees. For the armrest, this can go up and down 2.9 inches for the height. This can slide back and forward a total of 3 inches, and then you can actually tilt this in and out 35 degrees. For the headrest, this has a total height adjustment of 1.2 inches. It kind of follows like a curve with it too, so it kind of tilts as it does that to find the best position for your neck. And then last, you have the adjustable lumbar support, which can go up and down 1.9 inches. The interesting thing with this one, I've not seen this on any other chair, is that I could just tilt one side up. So if I do have one side that I need a little bit more support and it's higher, and maybe on the other side it's a little bit lower, you get to kind of tilt this, which is interesting. The only thing you can't do though is increase the amount of like forward pressure or just drive that it has to create more support for your lower back. It is just kind of set at that one level, so you're not going to get any more forward motion of the lumbar support here, just the height adjustment. Now, as I mentioned, all of the material on this for the most part is going to be this mesh, and that's really just the base and then the backrest portion. When we're looking at the headrest, that actually has the foam on it, which is nice. If you look towards the front of the chair, I mentioned that has like a small spot where it actually has foam underneath that for better support as well. And then looking at the lumbar support pad, that is actually memory foam. So you do have different material on these 3 spots, but outside of that, again, just the base and the backrest, that is going to be this woven mesh material that they have. This allows for more airflow, and this kind of gets us into the trade-offs, because I think most people, if you're going in to buy a chair that's mesh, you really need to understand the trade-offs and what's going to best suit you. It is more breathable, so if you have a tendency on like sponge, like base chairs to get hot, this is potentially going to be a better option for you. And same for the backrest as well. But with that one, I find that we're seeing a lot of chairs transition over to a mesh backrest. So it is kind of more common. That does help with making it so that your back doesn't get as sweaty if you're sitting for long periods of time, like you can if it was some other material that maybe there's even a sponge base to it as well. It's just going to get hotter again with longer sitting periods, where this just lets that breathe more. It also will hold its shape longer for the base. So for anybody that uses a sponge seat, you get like this break-in period where it has a ton of support at the beginning, and then once it's broken in, it kind of finds like this, kind of like your bed, like this certain position that you just kind of mold into the material through your weight over time. This is going to hold its shape, its firmness longer than those, but that can be a trade-off. I like once a sponge is kind of broken in, it is very comfortable in my opinion, but some people may not like that. So we're looking at those kind of major differences in terms of firmness levels, because again, a sponge is going to break in over time, where this is always going to have that same firmness. We're also looking at, hey, is it breathable or not between those two? One other thing to keep in mind with that though, because this is mesh, any windy type sound, we'll just leave it at that, that passes from you through this chair, you're gonna hear it. So if you work in an office, something to be mindful of, or you're around a lot of other people, if you ever break wind, it passes right through this. Another thing is that this is more grippy to the skin than sponge. So if you're wearing shorts and your legs are exposed and they touch this material, it actually just has a tendency to kind of grip it more so than if it was just a sponge. So you will feel the grip of the chair in that instance where you wouldn't with a sponge. Now the good news here is if you do have a preference towards a sponge base over a mesh base seat here, they actually have a sponge like base version of this. So you could go with that if you wanted to. You don't have to stick with the mesh. Everything else is exactly the same. The only thing that they've swapped out is that the seat itself isn't going to be mesh. It's going to have that sponge in it. So I do like the fact that they have given us two different options with this. In terms of the chair itself, I love the aesthetics of this. It has all the adjustments that I usually want out of a chair outside of the lumbar support not being able to increase its forward pressure into my lumbar spine. So with this, I've ended up using a pillow to help with that because I just don't get enough from the pad itself. It does have the curve of the backrests, which does follow the lumbar spine, but it just isn't quite enough pressure. And again, you can't adjust that. That's the one thing I would say was probably missing here. Everything else is great. And then longer sitting sessions feel fine with this chair. It feels very comparable to the other Logicfox chair that I reviewed that was mesh like this as well. That one did have that forward pressure though. So if that is something that you need a lot of, that may be something where that other chair would be better suited for your needs. This does have a good weight limit too at the 300 pounds. It never feels like it's going to tip over or fall when I lean back, and this only weighs the 36 pounds, so it is light. It is easy to move around, and it has the good wheels on it. So all of that is great with this chair. And again, longer sitting sessions, it has firm support, so it always feels like I have that consistent amount of support with it compared to other chairs where again it may feel like it breaks in over time. So if you want that consistent level of support, this may be a chair that would be a really good option for you. So once you go through everything and figure out, hey, do I want the mesh base? What are the trade-offs with that compared to the sponge base? Again, you have both options with this chair, so you could just choose the sponge version if you wanted to. And then it meets all of the adjustment needs that you have, keeping in mind the lumbar support adjustments that I talked about here as well, and that is going to actually meet your needs. Then that's where you can make your kind of final decision about this chair. So I hope this video has helped you in regards to your purchasing decision when it comes to this Logicfox chair. And that is going to wrap this video up. So I'm going to have a link for this in the description if you want to pick it up. If you have any questions about this chair, by the way, let me know in the comment section. I will make sure to answer that for you there. If you liked the video, hit the like button for me as it helps the channel out. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, hit the subscribe button for me. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.